So welcome to the vBrownBags here at VeeamOn. I have with me Chris Colotti from VMware.
You don't even remember where I work, do you? It's been a long week.
It's been
guys.
a long week, yeah.
Very long, short week.
We're here talking about the VCDX program, and so you just took over the program.
Yeah. So this kind of came about because you and I were talking the other night a little bit, and I've had some good conversations this week about it. But yeah, so I took over officially as the VCDX evangelist, which is sort of an inward and outward facing role, right? So I actually am taking input and sending it back into the organization, and then taking all that and sending it back out to the community. So really just trying to make sure we get more information out, a lot more transparency than we used to have, and get people more involved and wanting to go through it.
Okay, so first question would be, what would as people go after their VCPs and whatnot, what's the enticement to go further beyond VCP into VCAPs and then VCDX?
Yeah, I think it runs a gamut. A lot of it is personal growth, right? People want to actually elevate to that next level and become an architect level person. It's actually an interesting conversation we're having with a bunch of the current VCDXs now, which is do you train yourself to become an architect, or are we looking for people who have those skills and that can demonstrate it? Right. So I think for the individual, it's about getting to the next level, elevating their career, elevating their personal growth, their technology level. I think for the partners, I've had some really interesting conversations this week with a couple of guys that were struggling with how do we position the value to our employer, right? We want to go through it, and we want to actually, there's cost to it, and there's travel, and there's all these other things, but they want to do it for their own personal growth and to help the organization, but they haven't been able to figure out how to explain to their employers why it's a good idea.
Right.
And I think that's a whole different conversation. I probably have to start some blogs around it, but I think what we talked about last night, I'll give you the context of that conversation. It was you should explain to your employer that it's a differentiator, right? So look out in the community. There are a bunch of good partners that have a lot of VCDXs, and frankly, they market the crap out of it.
Because they know the value, right?
They know the value of it, right? So it becomes something that if it's a delivery mechanism or the person's on the delivery side, when I was in PSO, we were actually billing differently for a VCDX on a project. More importantly, it gives the individual, in my mind, the ability at their partner to do other things where they might be, in the weeds of doing tactical type projects, where those individuals can come up a level. They can be presented to a customer as a differentiator to another partner if they're in a competitive situation, but at the same time they can sort of dive bomb in and come out, right? I sort of see a lot of architect level people coming in, overseeing stuff, doing a lot of oversight,
right,
and then other guys come in and do all the tactical work. So it's all about that personal growth.
Well, so the other thing I've noticed too is you have more people coming out going for VCDX from partners, right?
Yep.
The customer side, it's very limited as far. I'm sure you've heard this before, right?
There's like one guy, one or
two guys, right? So how do you kind of promote it more on the customer side?
Yeah.
So it's not just like, okay, well, the partners have all the advantage.
Yeah, I was actually we were talking to Jim Millard the other night, right, about this, and the challenge for a customer, and having been a customer, I didn't go through it when I was a customer, I went through it when I was in PSO, is you have designs. Most customers have a lot of designs,
right,
but none of it's documented, right? And that's the challenge. And you have to take the designs that you did as part of your environment that you've been living and breathing in and fit it into the requirements of VCDX to basically outline the requirements, the constraints, the assumptions, the risks.
Right.
They were all there
Yeah.
when those customers did the designs, but they have to put it in context of what's required to sort of put it through the VCDX side. I don't think it's any harder or easier for a customer to do it. I think anybody, really what it is anybody who's done architecture level work can go through the program and be successful. They just have to have done it in practice, right? It's very difficult to sort of go from couch to VCDX.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can be expected to do that. I think you have to have some of the experience. It's like any other job. You've got to have some stick time, right, of doing it. And there's a lot of customers who have that stick time. I mean, I had it, but I think back and I think about the documentation we didn't have. It was like, well, some of it lived up here, some of it lived in that guy's brain.
Well, it's time, right? Because you got to sit there and dedicate that time to draw Visios, to document your process and workflows and all that. It just takes time and effort. And
yeah, it's not an easy process, right? But I think there's a lot of people who are afraid of the process. And I want to dispel some of those fears. I posted a blog article the other day around, the panelists are just are people like everybody else. They're not there to fail you. They're actually there to help you along in the process, to validate your knowledge around the technical pieces, your presentation skills, all the things that come with being an architect. They're not there to just stand there and hit you over the head with a hammer, right? And they're normal people.
You're wrong.
Yeah, and it's strange when I had that article came out of a conversation with somebody at a VMUG that basically said, I'm afraid of the panelists. And I said, well, you're afraid of the defense? He's like, no, I'm afraid of the people. I said, well, that makes no sense. You talk to people all day long.
Right.
So it's because people are at different levels, and I think if we all get that sort of out of our brain that we're all part of the same community,
Right.
It's just different people have gone through it sooner. There's a mutual respect on both sides of the table. If you walk through that door, if you've made it to that level,
You've done something right, yeah.
I can guarantee you the panelists on the other side have a great deal of respect for the individual that made it.
Oh yeah, because it's all about the journey, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah. So it's hopefully we'll start to see more people want to elevate. I know the jump from VCP to VCDX is huge with the VCAP stuff in between. I'm working on a bunch of stuff for 2015 as far as what we can do differently with the program, ways we can scale it, ways we can modify it, ways we can, and certainly not make it easier, right? There's no such thing as a fast track through it.
Right.
Well, you want to go through the same process.
You want it to still have that value, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
There's only 100 and something still in the world, right?
Right.
So
We do want to grow it, right?
Yeah.
We want more of them because we need more panelists, right? We need more people. It's sort of a snowball effect, right?
Right.
You have to have more panels, you need more panelists, and to have more panelists, you need more people certified.
right.
But it's not about running people through the program, right? It's not a gauntlet that we want to run people through. And I've already started getting emails every day, saying, hey, this guy needs to get into a defense. I'm like, there's no getting the guy into a defense. Like, there's an application process, you have to be reviewed, you have to be accepted, and you have to be invited.
Right.
Right? And there's no way around it. There's no circumventing the system, so to speak. But if you follow the process, which is well documented, and you have the right materials and you have the right pieces in your submission, you stand a pretty good chance.
So how many defenses do you have currently a year?
I don't know. See, coming into it new, having been out of it for a couple of years and then coming back into it, I got to get back into how many we have. So this week was the last of the 2014 defenses. So those are going on in Palo Alto and Frimley and a couple other areas. We will be publishing the 2015 dates and the 2015 application hopefully sometime in Q4. And then we'll start working on how we get mentor programs up and running and things like that. So some of these things I'm taking over a lot of stuff, right? So trying to wrap our arms around it. We have a new program manager coming on board next week, so I've got to feed him from the fire hose and bring him up to speed. And it's actually kind of, for me, it's kind of good. He's coming from an outside vendor, right? So he's coming from another partner. So he's got no knowledge of the program. He's got knowledge of certification programs, and he's got a lot of good knowledge on creating systems around them, making them scalable, putting processes in place, which I'm a big fan of, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't like things that just run off all in I'm as type A as the next guy.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not predisposed to what the program was, what it is, what it should be, what it used to be.
He's new, so it's gonna...
It's actually a fresh perspective.
Refreshing, right?
Yeah, so even me being out of it for a couple of years and coming back into it, I'm in sort of investigation mode, right? I'm in CSI mode. I'm going through the different things that were in place and asking questions and saying, does this make sense? Can we scale this? Do we want to go down this road? Do we want to change this and do it differently? I've started a bunch of internal social cast posts. We have a private group for all the VCDXs inside VMware, and we've made that group active again in the last week and a half, where it was pretty much just nothing happening in there, right? So one of the posts today, I think from Nathan Raper was, I got to start watching this group. It seems like now that Colotti's on the clock, there's a lot more conversation going on. And my big thing has always been transparency and communication. Most guys who know me in the community, I like to communicate. I think there's been a lack of that a little bit in the program as far as what we want to do, the changes we want to make, and where we want to take it. And I think it's just all about messaging.
Yeah.
If everything's messaged properly, then everybody really understands it. It's when something comes out that wasn't explained and everyone goes, what the heck just happened? So
well,
even
of course, the rumors, right, that the program was going away, and
let's be honest. One program, one product, nothing disappears because a couple of guys decide to move on.
Right.
And John and Mark did great things for the program, and I have great respect for those guys. But programs don't die because somebody disappears. I mean, frankly, we're all expendable. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, right? We like to think that things will just stop when we go away, but it's not how it works.
Exactly. So I'm just curious, this role, what made you,
Well, what
Going-
made me decide to? Yeah, because everybody always calls me, they're like, you jump like every 18 months. You
Well,
do
I saw
something
your
different."
article, right? You said, 7 years, and then you kind of made a jump here, and then now here,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now, of course, now taking over this program is kind of different for you, right?
Yeah, so it's a weird reporting structure. So I actually report into global solutions. I don't report into engineering. I have a dotted line to education. So it's kind of cool. I actually get to stay plugged in with the technical guys more and do bring some of their feedback back into it. But for me, I wrote this in the article. I'm a student of personal growth. I read a lot of John C. Maxwell stuff. Guys always see me quoting him all the time. And he's been a.
Wait, you quote some other things besides fitness?
Oh yeah, I do actually. I read a lot of other things. I'm well rounded. Unlike James. No, we won't do that.
Wait, no, that's a different discussion.
Yeah. So basically, I look at my career and my personal growth as what's the next stage, what's the next level, because one, I get bored, right? You do things for so long, you get bored. So this actually came along because with John moving on, the requirement was that the person taking over, one, had to be a VCDX, and two, had to be a principal within VMware. So it was a pretty limited pool of people that could take it over. So I looked at it as a great challenge, and to be able to stay plugged in with the community and just really try to get more community aspect around it and turn it into more of what vExpert is today. Really just a group of individuals, not a club, not a clique, but just really just grow it out to where there's more people and everybody's just taking advantage of it.
Where do you see it, let's say, within the next year, maybe to 5?
Yeah, I have no idea. You got to give me you got to give me more than a week to kind of
Come
figure
on,
out where
Chris,
I want it to
come
go.
on, come on.
Yeah, I don't want to throw numbers out there. I don't want to talk about how many VCDXs
Well, I'm not talking
we wanna
about
have,
numbers.
but-
I'm talking about where do you see the program and as far as, where from now till, let's say in a year.
In a year. I would hope to have a lot more people in the pipeline. I think that's where what we have to do is we have to get more people beyond the VCP VCAP area into moving down that journey of VCDX. I think we got to fill that pipeline with more people that are interested in it. I think that comes with dispelling the fears and getting people the help that they need to understand the program. But I don't want to be in the business of training people to be an architect. You kind of have to know some of that. What I want to be in the business of is helping people understand the process and helping them navigate through the process so that they can get to where they need to go. So I think for me it's just getting more people in the pipeline.
Okay. Well, we good? We still got time. Okay, I guess we have more time then.
We do. Well, he said 2 minutes.
He
I don't
said
know.
2
He's
minutes,
waving
yeah.
his hands. His
Wrap it
flags.
up?
Oh, wrap it up. All right.
Okay, so, what would you tell someone that is kind of on the fence? He's got their VCAPs and they're like,
a
okay,
great
should I
question.
do it? Should I not do it? Okay, I mean, we talked about funding, but let's put funding aside,
Yeah.
okay? They have it. They have the qualifications.
Do it.
What should push
you know-
them to do it? Remove fear of failure and all that, but.
Yeah, I think if it's something you think you're ready to do, right, and it's sort of stepping outside the comfort zone, and I do that a lot, and I think that's the hardest thing to do is sort of get your mind right and move into another area, right? And everybody who knows me know I do a lot of things that are outside of my comfort zone, but you sort of have to look yourself in the mirror and step up and be confident in it and just do it. I mean, worst thing that's going to happen is you don't pass, right? And you do it again. But if you can't be afraid of the failure, you can't be afraid of the people, you'll never know unless you do it.
Right.
And what we hear from people is even if they don't pass the first time, it's such an incredible learning experience that they actually go through it a second time and they do much better.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So even if you don't make it, it's a personal growth experience. It's all about just understanding where you're lacking and where you can grow.
Oh, yeah.
So just do it. I mean, we'll figure it out in the pre-qualification process whether you really are going to make it to the invitation or not, and that's also an indicator, right?
Right.
So you just, I hate to just say go for it, but why wait?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all.
You've gone through the process thus far, right? I mean, what's more one level?
Right. What's one more step?
Yeah.
Just take the leap. Take the leap of faith and see what happens.
All right, man. Well, good luck.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll see what happens come partner exchange and how many guys we got going through it. So.
All right. Well,
Cool.
That's it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks.
We'll catch up later.